let's take a look at an error here, correction. And so this says, let's write a function that returns the max of a list without using the global max functions. One of the best ways to practice coding problems is to actually try to write your own functions, that Python includes for you. And so here you can see we have an attempt, we have the definition max list. It says list as the input. Then it defines the list here. And then there's a for loop and there's a check to see is num greater than the max. And then we want to return the number. Okay, so it's a good attempt. And when running the code, it looks like the function was saved. And then when running it, it says name my list is not defined, which is definitely confusing because it's been defined in the list. Well, when they're calling it too, they're calling basically my list, but it's been defined inside of the function. And so it doesn't know, it should be defined outside of the function. Okay, and so basically, so here's what I would do. First of all, let's move this outside of the function. You shouldn't have an example inside. Totally fine to have an example outside. Space it back. Okay, that's fine. Now, what's the input here? Okay, it can be list. List is actually a keyword in Python. I would not use a keyword. Maybe something like sample list. Okay, fine. Now, what you're checking then is the sample list. My list can be an example that you put in there. Now, okay, so let's check it one step at a time. Okay, so we've rewritten the function, and now we should be able to put in my list, and let's see what happens. Okay, we get an error. It says the type error is on the greater than sign. Okay, and the reason, what's going on here? It's right to check if it's greater than something, but what are the max? What's the max? This just came out of nowhere. There's like a global function called max. And again, I would not use the keywords. I think you want to use something like define in your list, something like the largest number. Well, you could return 0 if they're all negative, or you could just take the first element of the list, right? Because you've got to start somewhere. And so if you want to, because they could all be negative. So if you want to start with the first element of the list, now that's the largest, right? And so now you want to see if you can do better than that. I think it's fine to just sort of check the first one on that. And so now we're not checking if the number in the sample list is greater than this max, it's greater than the largest number, which we've now defined. Okay, so that fixes that part of it. Let's press Shift Enter, run it again. And you can see it actually did return 95, which actually is correct. Now, this is sort of interesting because it might not work in all cases. Let's just say, what if I add in 105 here? Okay. It's always important when you're doing these problems to check multiple cases. Okay, so now if I rerun it and I check max my list, I still get 95. And the reason why is because this code is not correct because the return is inside of a for loop inside of an if. So you don't just want to return it if it's larger. What it's going to do is it's going to return here the first number that's larger than the first one, which is 95. You've got to check each number. You want to wait to return, okay? Returning in a function always goes there. Okay, the condition, what do we do if number is largest? Well, you want to set number equal to the largest. Or set, sorry, largest equal to the number, right? If, wait, no, yeah. Okay, you're finding the largest number. I'm not using the word max because that is a keyword. And so once you get here, look, like 95, is 95 greater? Yes, so I want to reassign the largest number to 95. And now I'm checking in each case, well, is it now greater than 95? No, 105 is, and so the largest gets reassigned now to 105. And when you're all done, you want to return the largest. Okay, so now if we check it, Shift Enter, you can see you do get the desired value of 105. And so this looks like this should work. And I would say this, when you're working with lists and loops, this is one of the more common ones. It's like getting lost in indentation because if you keep pressing return, you keep getting indented in further. And so you have to make sure you're lining it up properly. Like here, the if should definitely be inside of the for loop, because that's what you're checking, each element in the loop. Only your check goes inside of the for loop. Your return or code that may come after does not go inside of that check. The other most common error I see, and I'll just put this up here separately, is let's make a list of singers. Okay, and so let's go with Ella, Billy, and Lady Gaga. Okay, so there are 3 singers. And now if I press Shift Enter to store that list, totally works. Awesome. So if I print it out, what do I get? I get something weird because the comma's in the wrong place. So that's another thing that you need to watch out for. I see it a lot, is that when making lists with strings, people forget the comma, and it can happen with numbers too. Like if you forget a comma up here, okay, what's going to happen? Invalid syntax, and even says perhaps you forgot a comma. So with the strings, it'll get something weird, but here, yes, you can see you forgot a comma, and then you just go back and fix it. So, there's a sample problem and some error correction.